All right, so it's 1:19 p.m. right now. So you guys can see the date, Wednesday, July 16. So this is what these guys do. This is how I'm showing you guys that my landlord is illegally surveilling me. So when I'm about to make my food, every time my dad will start to text me within hours of me making the food or while I'm making the food. So watch this shit. Yesterday, I didn't really eat that much. I was busy and I wasn't that hungry. So he texted me and he said he was coming home, and he ended up not coming home because my landlord heard that I was not eating. She, like, she's listening. The house is wired so they could hear what I'm doing around the house. And I didn't really eat much yesterday. All I ate was some deep fried bread, and she could hear that while I'm eating on it. So I want you guys to see the shit that these guys do to gang stalk us, hidden in plain sight, because this is what happens when you're being targeted. Everybody around you is involved, and then people on the outside don't realize what's happening to us because we get isolated. Everybody around us has some part in our targeting. All right, guys, so it's 4:11 p.m. I finished eating about an hour ago. And like I said, my dad does not come home when I don't have tampered food or when they're not trying to set me up in terms of a psyop to make me think there's tampered food, right? So look, he just texted me right now. 4:10 p.m. He's like, open door, please. I'm coming home now. It's too hot. What does the weather have to do with you coming home? Like, it has, you know what I'm saying? Like, he never comes home unless I have tampered food or if they're trying to do psyop tactics to make me think that there's tampered food. Okay, so he never comes home otherwise. Yesterday was one of those days where I didn't really eat. I literally just ate like a little bowl of like deep fried bread, and they heard me eating that. Like, you could hear me crunching on the food. My house is wired. My landlord is involved in this illegal surveillance. So they, like, my dad yesterday said that he was coming home, and then he ended up not coming home because they were basically listening, and they heard that I wasn't really eating yesterday. So I guess they told him not to come home due to that, but this is the disgusting shit, y'all. This shit is so nasty. The tactics that they use, guys, is so damn nasty. Like, he literally does not come home otherwise. And when he doesn't come home, he'll make up like an excuse saying like, oh, I have cancer and I can't be home at this time. Like, it's absolutely disgusting. It's a slap in the face for people who actually do have cancer. These people behind my targeting, these free MASONS guys that are close with my ex's parents, they ended up giving my dad cars. They gave him other incentives in order to participate to set me up through my food. That is how far they go to traffic people in this program, guys. They get money off of us being on this surveillance program. This is not something that they just do for fun, guys. You need to understand that there's a lot of ritualistic purposes that I'm about to prove to you guys when I post another video. And they're basically using this program to target people of interest, whether it's hire for revenge. They target people that are vulnerable, especially like the homeless people. They'll target them for ritualistic purposes. But this is the shit that they do, guys. If you want to know what gang stalking is in a nutshell, it is literally satanic ritual abuse. And what they do is they isolate that victim. They, blackmail and bribe everybody around that victim while they target them, harass them, annihilate them in every aspect of their life. Financially, emotionally, physically. They'll set you up to get imprisoned, institutionalized, if not, being set up to be homeless or killed. But this is the shit that they do. And this is why it's so hard to prove. So you need to understand that when you're being gang stalked, obviously they're not going to make it obvious because it would have been blown up like years ago. This program would have been exposed on a mass scale years ago. There's been so many people who has reported being gang stalked, over 100,000 people alone in the States, guys, just in the States. And they still get away with this because they spew out misinformation. They get really big social media influencers to spew out misinformation. And, they get news outlets to like cover on this in a way where it makes us look crazy as well. Like Vice Media, for example, they got Vice Media to, cover on this, making it look like we're just, schizophrenic or whatever. So if you want to know more about this program, guys, go to targetedjustice.com. But if you guys need to understand what this is about, the free MASONS guys, it's not a coincidence that there's so many of us who complain about being targeted by these people right after something happened with them. Why is it that everybody who has some type of affiliation with these guys end up getting gang stalked by them? Okay, it's like these people brag saying like, no, we're not in a cult. This fraternity is not a cult, but this is the shit that they do. And I'm about to post a video for you guys, whether it's like this month or next month, but I'll post a video for you guys. And it's basically this female stalker that these free MASONS guys recruited to be my handler. And she's basically watching me through my landlord. And I can prove that because everything that I did around the house for the past few months, she would basically gloat and post and brag about it on her Facebook. And I was watching her this whole time. She didn't realize this, but I was counter surveilling her. So if I was eating some type of specific food around the house, she would end up posting about it within an hour or the day of me eating that specific food. Or if I watched the movie, for example, she would post about that movie within an hour or a day or two afterwards. So that's the shit that we deal with, guys. I have a handler who's involved in my targeting, this jealous female, and she's the one that these free MASONS guys got to be in charge of my targeting so they stay hidden. That is why they get away with the shit that they do, guys, because they're not the one doing all the dirty work. They recruit people like her to be the front, to be the cover, to be the one who is behind your gang stalking so they can stay hidden and watch you get tortured while they gang stalk you. So you guys need to understand that my routine is very organized. I wake up, I make my bed, I clean my room, I prep my food for later on in the day, and then I start, doing my tarot readings. So before I started coming on here and talking about how my dad would come home only when I would start making food, he would literally come home right while I was making my food. Every time. Every time I would start making my food, or every time I finished cleaning, because my landlord knows that's when I'm about to make my food, is when I'm done cleaning. That's when my dad would come home. So my landlord would literally tell my dad, or whoever this jealous female is, she would let them know that, okay, she's done cleaning, you can get him to come home now. My dad would never come home while I was cleaning. He would never come home, in the morning when I wake up. Only when I finished freaking cleaning, that's when he would come home and see what types of foods I was making. He would walk past me and, just subtly look to see what types of foods I was making, to see if it was that tampered thing that I was gonna eat. You know what I'm saying? So how are you supposed to, how can somebody help you when this shit is being done in a very secretive way? It's hidden in plain sight. When you're being gang stalked, they make sure that everybody surrounding you is involved in your targeting. Your landlord, the people that you're living with, your neighbors, okay? I have multiple neighbors on my street that are involved. Not all of them, but a lot of them are involved. Okay, they get these watch groups to get involved in your stalking. So all of these surveillance programs are being misused, and that's what people don't understand. It's not a gang that's actually behind your stalking. They call it gang stalking, but it's not an actual gang. It's the GOVT, and that's what people don't understand about this. So when I started coming on here and talking about that, my dad stopped coming home after I was done cleaning, or right when I was starting to make my food, because it was getting obvious, right? So it's like now they get him to come within hours of me making my food. They'll get him to come hours after I'm done making my food. And mind you, he was never coming home before I had tampered food. I know I have tampered food in my room. I'm not stupid. So they're trying to see if I'm going to end up eating this food, right? So before I would have tampered food and I ended up buying tampered food, not realizing it was tampered with, they would never get my dad to come home. I was literally alone in the house for months on end. While he was faking his cancer, they falsified his records to show that he had cancer, but I know he doesn't have cancer. They gave him cars, guys. They gave him cars. They gave him money to be involved in my targeting. If you're someone who's heavily involved around that person being targeted, if you're around that person most of the time, and they put you in charge to see if that person's going to end up eating that tampered food, they will give you things in return. You know what I'm saying? They'll give you cars, they'll give you money or whatever to be involved in that victim's targeting to end up unaliving them. So you can't tell me that this is not a CULT. And this girl behind my gang stalking, she does brag about this CULT. She brags about how it's all ritualistic. She says certain words that have a ritualistic meaning while she's speaking in code. So again, that's a whole different video I'm going to post for you guys, but this girl didn't realize I was counter surveilling her this whole time. And throughout her whole Facebook, she was gloating and bragging and talking about all of these ritualistic things. And again, I understand that this is what you guys do. And obviously, these people do this hidden in plain sight. But if you don't want me talking about this, then leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? I'm never going to shut up about it. Imagine trying to get me to shut up while you guys are targeting me and trying to set me up to, me. I'm never going to shut up about it. I'm going to make sure people find out about what you guys are doing to me. You tortured me for years. It's been 5 years. And you guys still have the audacity to target me. So I'm going to expose you.